There is one moment in human history that changed absolutely everything, and it was not the invention of the wheel. It was not agriculture, it was not language. It was the moment an early human looked at a burning branch left behind by a lightning strike, and instead of running away from it like every other animal on the planet, walked toward it, picked it up, and decided to keep it. That single act of insane curiosity, choosing to hold the one thing every living creature on Earth instinctively fears, is arguably the most important decision any organism has ever made in the entire 4 billion year history of life on this planet. Fire did not just give us warmth, it literally rebuilt the human body from the inside out, restructured our DNA, reshaped our skulls, rewired our brains, and invented what we now call civilization. So what would have happened if that moment never occurred? What if no early human ever conquered fire? What if we were still out there right now, in the dark, chewing raw meat off a bone, terrified of the night? The answer is not just that we would be living differently. The answer is that we would be a completely different species. Let us start with the most immediate and most physically transformative consequence: food. Before fire, every single thing our ancestors ate was raw. Raw roots, raw tubers, raw leaves, raw insects, raw meat ripped from a carcass. And here is something most people do not realize. Raw food is incredibly difficult for the human body to digest. A chimpanzee, one of our closest genetic relatives, spends roughly 5 to 6 hours every single day just chewing. Their jaw muscles are enormous, their teeth are thick and flat, and their digestive system is a massive energy-hungry machine designed to break down tough uncooked plant fibers. Early humans were the same. Before fire, our ancestors had large, heavy jaws, massive chewing muscles that attached all the way up the sides of the skull, and a digestive tract that consumed a huge portion of the body's total energy just to process raw food. Then fire changed everything. Cooking food externally does what the stomach would otherwise have to do internally. It breaks down proteins, softens fibers, kills parasites, and makes nutrients dramatically more bioavailable. When early humans started cooking their food roughly 1 to 2 million years ago, the energy required for digestion dropped significantly. And when the body suddenly has a surplus of energy that it no longer needs to spend on a massive gut and giant jaw muscles, evolution does something remarkable. It reallocates that energy. And where did it go? The brain. The human brain is the most energy-expensive organ in any mammal. It accounts for only about 2% of your body weight, but consumes roughly 20% of your total energy. No animal can afford a brain this expensive unless it has an incredibly efficient way of extracting energy from food. Cooking was that efficiency breakthrough. The direct link between cooked food and brain size is now one of the most well-supported theories in evolutionary anthropology, pioneered by a researcher named Richard Wrangham at Harvard. His argument is elegant and devastating. Without fire, the human brain as we know it could not exist. It is simply too expensive to run on raw food. So, in our alternate timeline where fire was never discovered, the first and biggest consequence is that the human brain never grew. We would still have the brain size of roughly an early australopithecine, maybe 400 to 500 cubic centimeters, compared to the 1,300 to 1,400 cubic centimeters you are using right now to process these words. That is not a minor difference. That is the difference between an animal that uses rocks to crack nuts and a species that builds particle accelerators. Without fire, there is no large brain. Without a large brain, there is no complex language. Without complex language, there is no ability to coordinate, plan, teach, argue, negotiate, or imagine. We lose storytelling. We lose abstract thought. We lose the ability to think about the future. We are locked in the permanent present tense, reacting to the world moment by moment like every other animal. But the physical consequences go even further. Without cooking, we keep our massive jaw muscles, our thick, heavy skulls, our large grinding teeth. The graceful, flat-faced modern human skull that allows room for a big frontal cortex never develops. We still look like australopithecines, heavy brow ridges, protruding jaws, small craniums. We do not look like us, and our throats never restructure in the way that enables complex speech. The human larynx sits lower in our throat than in any other primate, which is what gives us the vocal range to produce the enormous variety of sounds that make up human language. But this configuration only evolved because our faces flattened and our skulls reshaped over hundreds of thousands of years of eating cooked food. Without fire, our vocal anatomy stays primitive. We can grunt, we can hoot, we can scream, but we cannot speak. No words, no sentences, no conversations, no arguments, no poetry, no lies. Now, let us follow the cascading consequences further. No fire means no ability to survive cold climates. Humans originally evolved in the warm tropical regions of East Africa. Fire was the technology that allowed us to migrate, first across Africa, then into the colder regions of Europe and Asia. Fire kept us warm at night when temperatures dropped. Fire kept predators away from our camps. Fire allowed us to process and preserve food for longer journeys. Without fire, humans are trapped in tropical Africa. Why we never leave? The Great Migration that populated every continent on Earth simply does not happen. There are no humans in Europe, no humans in Asia, no humans in the Americas, no humans in Australia. Every single human being lives in a relatively small band of East African savanna and forest, competing with chimpanzees, gorillas, leopards, and hyenas for the same ecological niche. And without fire, we are not even the most dangerous thing in that niche. A human without fire is a medium-sized primate with no claws, no fangs, no venom, no armor, mediocre speed, and poor night vision. We are prey. Without fire to keep predators away at night, early human camps would have been hunting grounds for leopards, hyenas, and big cats. Infant mortality would remain catastrophically high. Population numbers would stay low, probably a few 100,000 at most, scattered across the African landscape in small, vulnerable bands. But the consequences cascade even further than survival. No fire means no metallurgy. You cannot smelt copper, bronze, iron, or steel without intense, controlled heat. Without metal, there are no axes, no plows, no swords, no nails, no wheels with metal axles, no ships with metal hulls. The entire age of metals, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, simply never begins. We are stuck permanently in the Stone Age. And not even an advanced Stone Age, because many of the most sophisticated stone tool techniques involved using fire to heat treat flint, making it easier to flake into precise shapes. Without fire, our tools remain crude, heavy, and limited. No fire means no ceramics. You cannot fire clay into pottery without a kiln. Without pottery, you cannot store water, ferment food, carry liquids, or create containers for anything. No fire means no glass, no lenses, no mirrors, no windows, no telescopes, no microscopes. No fire means no chemistry. Almost every foundational chemical reaction that launched modern science required heat: distillation, calcination, smelting, forging. Without fire, there is no alchemy, no early chemistry, no understanding of materials, no industrial revolution. The entire chain of technological development that defines human civilization begins with fire. It is not just a tool, it is the prerequisite tool, the one invention without which no other invention is possible. You cannot get from raw meat to the International Space Station without the intermediate step of learning to control combustion. Now consider the social consequences. Mere fire did not just cook food and forge metal, it created something arguably even more powerful: the campfire. Anthropologists believe that the campfire was the original social technology. Before fire, our ancestors would have scattered at night, each individual or small family unit finding a safe place to hide and sleep. After fire, groups gathered around a central light source. They sat together in the dark, watched the flames, and for the first time in evolutionary history, had nothing productive to do. They could not forage, they could not hunt, they could not travel. They could only sit and be together and communicate. The campfire is almost certainly where language accelerated, where storytelling was born, where social bonds deepened, where culture began. Fire extended the useful day beyond sunlight hours, yes, giving humans extra time that was not spent on survival tasks. That extra time, those fire-lit hours between sunset and sleep, may be where music, ritual, mythology, and religion all originated. Without fire, none of that happens. Without the campfire, human social groups remain small, fragmented, and silent. There is no cultural transmission, no shared mythology, no collective identity. Without shared stories, there are no tribes. Without tribes, there are no nations. Without nations, there is no civilization. And here is perhaps the strangest consequence of all. Without fire, we may never have developed our relationship with another species that fundamentally shaped human history: dogs. The domestication of wolves into dogs is directly linked to human campfires. Wolves were initially attracted to the edges of human camps by the smell of cooking meat and discarded scraps. Over thousands of years, the boldest and most docile wolves gradually integrated into human groups, eventually becoming the dogs we know today. Dogs then became our hunting partners, our guards, our companions, our early warning systems. In many survival scenarios, dogs increased human hunting efficiency by as much as 35 to 50%. Without fire, there are no campfires, there are no cooking scraps, and there is no reason for wolves to approach human groups. Dogs never exist. Humans remain alone. So the final picture of a fireless humanity is this: a small population of small-brained primates confined to tropical East Africa with crude stone tools, no language beyond basic vocalizations, no metal, no pottery, no chemistry, no dogs, no culture, no art, no religion, no agriculture, no cities, no writing, no history. We are still animals, intelligent animals, perhaps clever enough to use rocks and sticks and to cooperate in small groups for basic hunting, but animals nonetheless, indistinguishable in the fossil record from any number of other clever primates that evolved and went extinct without leaving a trace. The distance between that version of humanity and the one that exists today, the one that splits atoms and writes symphonies and argues about politics on the internet, is measured in a single variable: fire. Every single thing that separates us from chimpanzees traces back, directly or indirectly, to the moment one terrified, curious, possibly insane early human reached into the flames and decided to carry them home.